Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to this second day of our 3-day program at ParisDOT.comm today. And as usual, we have an exciting lineup of speakers today, especially VCs and professionals from the gaming industry. And so we will start with the first panel, the dual Polkadot VC model with Max Rebel from Harbor Industrial. He will be the moderator of this first presentation with James Wu from DFJ, which is the co-moderator of this first discussion. So I invite you to come on the stage and please make some noise from these wonderful people here. Do you need a pointer? If you need the pointer, it's just there. Okay, perfect. So the stage is yours.
Hello everyone, this is James from DFG. So let me do a quick introduction about myself and our fund. So I established this investment firm back to 2015, focused on the investment in the crypto space. We start with our own money, so we don't raise any outside LP, so make it more flexible. So we'll be more like a family office, but operating in a VC ways. So we invest into a bunch of startups in their first 2-3 years, like Circle, Ajax, Brave, Bezos, in various stage. So right now, a lot of them become unicorn. And the real things make me exciting is the investment into Polkadot start from 2017, 2018. This is really the things we see, can potentially change the future of the infrastructure of blockchain, right? So we decide to make the investment there, and we continue making investment in 2019, and after DOT got listed in 2020, we also buy DOT on the secondary market. Start from there, we start seeing a very big, growing ecosystem about Polkadot. So we invest into, more than 50 different projects in the Polkadot ecosystem, including the EVMs like Moving, All Stars, and a few other good ones also, in the ecosystem. So we continue to supporting them. Right now, our strategy is keep a close eye on the Polkadot ecosystem, see what kind of things is exciting here. So we will continue give our support to them. I guess there's a few things I want to talk about in Polkadot space, because people have really different opinions about Polkadot these days. I guess there's a few things has to be solved in the Polkadot space. So I can probably share a little bit about my thoughts here. The first I will say is about massive adoption, because we see Polkadot ecosystem growing pretty quickly in 2019, 2020. But start from the recent probably 2 years, there's few projects coming into the space, and especially for new crypto innovative project, right? So this is actually one of the hurdle here, because there are so many layer 1 protocols, so many infrastructure, but the problem is really about the application here. So if we can solve the problem of massive adoption through one killer app, then Polkadot will be much better in the next bull run. So that's, I think, one of the most important things. The second is about make it easy for developer to enter into the space, because Rust is a language every developer knows it's not an easy language to learn, and the substrate is great, but the barrier for entering into the substrate framework, that's also very hard. I think probably Cosmos is much easier, and the Solana Ethereum is also much easier than Polkadot. But once learning about substrate and you can use it, then it makes you very strong. So I think, Polkadot still have good technology, but how to lower the barrier for developer to move into the space is actually the second problem we need to solve. The third is more about the token economy. Cause as far as everyone knows, we have like a 15% staking reward a year for DOT if you stake your DOT, and the inflation is potentially somewhere like less than 9%. This is actually higher than most of the protocol in the space. So it actually creating the short-term momentum in giving incentive for people to stake their DAO. But in the long term, because we're creating so many tokens, then it actually hurt us a little bit on the secondary market. So I think that's also a problem. Kind of I think Polkadot community need to consider is what kind of token matrix can help us be more sustainable and healthy in the long term, right? So I think that's a few thoughts about Polkadot from my perspective. There's tons of good things, happen in the Polkadot space that people don't know. We need to do good marketing stuff. We need to let everyone knows about it. But I think, once we can solve the problem as well as kind of just spreading all the good news to the people outside the Polkadot ecosystem, I'm pretty sure Polkadot will still have a very bright future in the next bull run. Thanks.
Okay, then I'll take over from here. I don't know, I prepared some slides. Let's see if this works. Oh, there we go. So maybe I can stand at the panel. Okay. Maybe I'll stay here if the string isn't long enough. All right, so my name is Max Riebal. I'm the co-founder of Harbor Industrial Capital, which is a Polkadot-focused VC fund, but often I like to think of it more as a governance fund, right? So it's a mixture between governance and VC, and like what I want to talk about here today is these two things merging together. Maybe a little bit of background, like why are we doing this? So I'm a Polkadot private sale investor myself, and then I teamed up with like a friend of mine who is also like a large DOT holder, with the idea that if we jointly manage those DOT, we can actually really change something in the ecosystem, right? So it's a bit like think of like in the traditional world, think of it as like an activist investor, right? That's kind of what we're doing here. We're not passively like holding and hoping that things go well, but it's a very active involvement that we have with the governance of Polkadot as a whole, and with like specific projects that we support. Okay, right. So this is a very simplified graph here. What do projects in the Polkadot space, or arguably in any crypto space, really need from VCs, right? Usually the number one answer is money, right? Like everyone needs money, which is true, right? Obviously you need money to build your runway, to pay your developers, to rent an office, to use servers. But then one of the more important aspects that any startup in the crypto space needs, and okay, let's say specifically in the Polkadot space, is block space, right? And we know block space nowadays mainly in the form of the parachain leases. So this is the idea: you win an auction, you get like a lease for usually 2 years, in which you have full access to the Polkadot relay chain and to all the block space that it provides, right? So this is a very important resource for anyone building on top of Polkadot. And maybe some of you guys were in Copenhagen like a few weeks ago when Gavin gave his presentation, where he says that maybe the parachain lease system is going to evolve a little bit, and I think that is exactly what's going to happen, right? Like currently you have this very rigid model where you have like a parachain lease for a certain period of time, and it's either you're in or you're out, right? It's not very flexible, right? With para threads, right, and like a more flexible block space model, I think a lot of people are going to find it easier to come onto Polkadot. And for us, this is a good thing. This is something that we welcome. But I think there will still be like a market for trading block space against equity, right? So this is kind of this idea, right? Like, I mean, traditional VC is like, okay, give me money and I'll give you some shares, right? That's, what usually happens. Block space being such an important resource, we figured that there is also a way to kind of cut short through that and directly offer block space for equity, right? That is kind of what we're focusing on here. So this is, without going into the details, but that's like our red meat, right? This is like what we're doing. Like these are just some random snapshots of the last 4 batches of auctions, and you can see like the different bidding strategies. So there's a Polkadot audience here, so I assume you guys kind of know what this is. So I'm not going to explain it from scratch. But I mean, the one thing that I would say is you see usually there are some jumps, right? Usually like, the line goes flat and then there's a jump and then it like plateaus or then it continues building a little bit. And, this is called like the Dutch candle auctions, right? Where you have like a random snapshot. And what we found is that a lot of projects who are building on Polkadot, they want to have the community engaged, right? And that's why it's called a crowd loan. But by and large, people find it difficult to, predict the outcomes here, right? To get like, it's hard to plan around it because these auctions tend to be a bit quite unpredictable how they ultimately turn out. And that's where we kind of thought there is an opportunity for us to come in and support some interesting projects, right? And then bid on their behalf with a more substantial amount of DOT. And we obviously like talk with them, and I guess this year is also like an open invitation to anyone of you guys here who are building and who are planning to win a parachain auction and who are not sure if they have enough DOT in either their own treasury or like in the they're not sure if like the total community support that they have within the space is sufficient, right? It's not an either or, in my opinion, right? It's not like, oh, either you go with us or you go with the community. We usually like to work together, right? It's we can be like sort of a cornerstone investor. Think about it this way, like a cornerstone, like pick like some of those, where you see like a quick jump, right? Oftentimes that's actually been us, right? And then from there you can keep on building the support. Also from the retail perspective, right? If someone, if you have a retail guy coming in and he sees like your project has like 5 DOT support, why bother like putting your DOT there? Doesn't really like, there's a very low chance of actually winning. But if the project is already in the lead or close to the lead, retail support is much more likely to actually materialize. Yeah, and so the first thing is parachain auctions. The second thing is open governance, right? And as you all know, like open governance is live and it's happening, and there are some, really interesting proposals going on. This is just one origin, right? I just picked the big spender origin, ability to spend over $1 million DOT. And these lines are quite interesting, right? I think, I really like the system. I think it's a very well thought through model, right? Where you have like the approval and the support. Approval starting at 100% going down to 50, right? And then the support level starting at 50 as well, and then declining to some very low levels. So here, like towards the end of this, of the green curve, right? It goes very close to 0, right? I think here we're talking about like 0.1% of total support that is required. This is very low if you think about it. Like think of if you're living in a democracy, like whatever, here in France or anywhere, Like imagine you only had a turnout of 0.1%, right? Would anybody say like this is a representative election, right? If if President Macron like wins with like 0.1%, like obviously that's not a democracy. So this is what kind of brought me to this next idea, right? That what if we lived in a democracy but nobody bothers to vote? And it's not that nobody bothers to vote, but in OpenGov, in Polkadot, like turnout tends to be very low, right? And this is, in my opinion, like somebody who believes in OpenGov and who thinks that this is a great idea, it's, you know, it's a shame, right? Like we want more people to actually vote in OpenGov. Like that's, you know, to have a higher turnout because that's what leads to better decision, that's more representative. And so one of the things we've been thinking about is like, how can we increase the voter turnout? And, you know, there are different ways to think about it. I'm not saying that I've got the only correct model, but, you know, I guess it's one approach. You know, I'm thinking of it in terms of like this collective action problem, because everyone here in this room, I guess, is deep in Polkadot, and you know, you enjoy the, you know, you like reading about it, you like spending time, you know, reviewing all the proposals that are out there. But I guess like the average retail user doesn't have the time, right? It is, that's why I'm calling it a collective action problem. A lot of people, like, yeah, they bought DOT at some point, you know, they generally believe in the ecosystem, but to really sit down and like review all those proposals that are coming online in OpenGov, like it's a full-time job. Like nobody can reasonably be expected to make an informed opinion if they only hold, I don't know, 10 DOT or even 100 DOT, right? Like it takes a lot of time. Right, and people have another job, they do something else. So they cannot really be, unless they're like, obviously you have some people who are like really passionate about it, who are like, you know, spending time, but that's not your average user, right, or your average DOT holder. Okay, so and this leads us like to the idea of delegation. Now, delegation is something that already exists in OpenGov. Here is a screenshot of the delegations dashboard, and you know, I think this goes in the right direction, right? It's a good thing that people are able to delegate their vote to somebody else, who then votes on their behalf, right? You know, I mean, it's a kind of the idea of a representative democracy, like the citizens of a country, right? They don't vote on like individual laws either. They vote for a party, and then the party votes in parliament like for a certain proposal or against it, right? And people delegate their vote to whoever they like, whoever they feel comfortable with, whoever they think is a good representative of their vote. The issue here is that if you delegate through the staking dashboard, right, it's great, you can keep the flexibility, right? You have the, you know, however, like you can unstake, you can redelegate anytime, but you don't get any rewards from it. And this is kind of where we thought like, you know, I mean, for us, it's a good thing to get the vote, right? So we should be able to reward the people for delegating their votes to us. And that's kind of, in this fund that we're running, this is kind of what we're proposing here, right? To delegate the vote to us and get paid, right? And get rewarded. So this is, you know, a bit of an overly complicated flowchart, but you know, what it really means is like our investors, our LPs in this fund, it's a Cayman fund, right? They usually already hold DOT, right? We're sitting here in the middle, right? It's our HIC Cayman fund, and they delegate to us, right? And then we participate in either the parachain auctions or OpenGov, right? Both are possible in theory. We're doing both, but we get something out of it, right? From the parachain auctions, you get rewarded, right? And it's really like, you know, everything is a negotiation in life. That's, you know, an old saying. So when supporting a parachain, it's not like a take it or leave it. You can always like ask like, oh, how about this? How about that? Right? But one way or another, we're gonna get some rewards out of it, and we don't want to keep those rewards for ourselves, but we want to distribute them to the people who trusted us, so to speak, right? Who gave us their vote, who delegated to us. So that's why there's like also a flowchart in the opposite direction, right? Where those various project tokens go back into our HIC fund, we convert them back into DOT, and then they flow back to our LPs, right? So last slide, I think, why not do it myself? I think it really goes back to this collective action problem, right? I always like to emphasize, you know, OpenGov is called OpenGov for a reason, right? It's because anyone can participate. Any DOT holder, if you hold, you know, 1 dot, 5 dot, you can participate, and we encourage everybody to participate. But, you know, running this fund now for like 1.5 years, I have realized that even some of the more sophisticated holders of DOT don't necessarily have the time to review every single proposal, to look at every single parachain that is coming up for an auction. And therefore, for them, it also makes sense to delegate their vote with their DOT. They're still going to get their DOT back, but they can also move something forward in the ecosystem. So that's why I split it into like time and money. That's it. That's the end of my presentation. So this is me. This is my co-founder, Mario. We're based in Hong Kong. Mario couldn't make it because he's in Hong Kong at the moment. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to leave it here, and I welcome any questions from the audience.
Perfect. If you have any questions, feel free to ask to our speakers. Max, James, you can stay there because you will take part in the next panel. Just have a quick information for you guys. We will distribute this QR code, so feel free to scan it, and you will be able to record a small video of you speaking about your thoughts about the event, and then it will be used to bring some visibility on the social medias. So now we will welcome our next speakers in this great panel, so the panel VC panel. So we have, of course, James Wu still there from DFG, Max Ribol from Harbour Industrial, and so please welcome Joanna Liang from G Square, then Sagar Barvelia, I hope I spelled it right, and from Blockchain Founders Capital, and Christoph Kompich from Skytail. I think we can applaud them. And I leave you the stage.
All right, as we say in South Africa, how's it going, everyone? Are you all good? You all right? Good to hear that. My name's James Preston. I'm going to be the host of this panel. I'm very excited to chat with you all this morning. I am marketing and communications at Zeitgeist, the prediction markets protocol on Polkadot. And we have a lot of experience with this panel up here. We have a lot of relationships with you. Some of you have invested in our project. And I think a key takeaway I want for this panel is for those that are watching the live stream, those that are here, to go away going, if I was starting a project, what would the VCs want to hear in my pitch? What should I be looking at? What should I be focusing on? So that's going to be a key takeaway for me. Before we get into all those nuts and bolts, what I'd like to do is just ask for you each to share with us the name of your firm and your two favorite investments. Doesn't have to be your biggest investments. Your two favorite no, okay. maybe we're getting a little, we might show a bit of favoritism to the others. Let's go with your two most famous investments and why you think they became so successful. Let's start with the end on that side. Christoph, what about you?
Well, Zeitgeist, of course, is our favorite investment. Couldn't be more happy. Maybe the token price should be a little bit higher, then we would be even more happy. No, so I think it's, we don't have really a favorite investment. I mean, I always like to say I think the only goal you have as a VC is to make money, and so we invest in projects where we think they can money for our investors. So that's the goal.
Sagar, yourself?
I think you gave the very honest answer. So my name is Sagar, I'm from Blockchain Founders Capital. So as he mentioned, like we are in money-making business, right? So at the end, it's but for us, very important is like what kind of pain point or what is the problem the founders are solving. So we are not sort of like a Web3 fund, but like we focus on Web 2.5 where we want to like, no one sells nowadays like internet, right? No one writes their door like, hey, we are internet startup, right? They are all focusing on explaining like what pain points they are solving. So we focus on this kind of like, though we are like investing only in blockchain-based startups, but for us very important is that what pain point, what problems you are solving, and how you are going to solve. Is market ready for that problem? Do we need that solution? And I mean, as an investor, you basically invest as per your fund size. You do like 20, 30, or 40 investment, but the reality is also like even the Y Combinator invest in 100 startups, and only they have the like 7% rate to hitting the unicorn. So like out of 100, only 7 startups hit the unicorn status. So like then you are the world's top investor, right? So when you invest, of course, when you are investing into any startup, that means you are already convinced about them, but that doesn't mean it's gonna work. So we invested in all the startups. They all are my favorite, but a couple of them like solving the creator economy problem called Beats and Talenteer. So they are like removing the all middleware congested music industry by bringing the like artists and fans together, right? By using blockchain. Though they never write at the door like we are a Web3 or crypto startup, right? So this is what our focus is. One of our early investment was Venly, like a wallet provider for gaming infrastructure. So like think about like any gaming company would like to offer their players tomorrow like suddenly like, okay, I have like 5 million users and I want to give each of the users like wallet. The gaming company don't have time or they will not hire like a whole massive team, you know, and build like from scratch. So they go to Venly and they're like, okay guys, we need 5 million wallet. We want to integrate your API and your infrastructure and please give us the price. So like Venly has like a 5 million user. We invested in 2020. So yeah, they are solving like pain point problem of the gaming industry by using blockchain. So basically they are like infra provider. I can keep going and go, but yeah, I think we are in limit of time, so I will leave it here.
Wonderful, thanks so much, Sagar. And for those that don't know about Sagar, primary focus is the Ethereum ecosystem. If I stand corrected, but I know that you're also going to be putting on ETHCC in Munich. Is that correct?
Yeah, so like I'm hosting the hackathon at Technical University of Munich. It's ETH Munich, but everyone is invited. The goal is that, so our fund is not focusing on only on Ethereum ecosystem. We are like multi-chain. By the way, like fully disclosure, I also hold Polkadot and Kusama. So I'm also quite deep into like a blockchain space. But like when it comes to fund, you need to justify to your LPs because they give you money to make more money, right? As he mentioned. So the goal of the ETH Munich is that the Technical University of Munich is one of the best university in whole Europe when it comes to computer science and data science and IT, and now like in the AI bubble, they are leading the race. But let's see how many startups comes out of it. But my goal is that if you teach the student, right, you give them the tech, they are the like a new generation of developer. So it's easy to mold them. Like doing some exercise, like start learning ski at the age of 40, and when you are a 10-year-old and you start learning ski, right? So the 10-year-old will add up very faster. So my goal is that if 100 or 150 students will come out and will build on top of blockchain, and if they come out of like a next generation of startup which is solving the real life problem, then I think my whole energy will be worth invested. And hackathon is like completely non-profit. I'm not gonna take any cuts. It's under the NGO entity of the German EV. It's like EV. And yeah, so if you are around next month, around 11, 12, 13th August, please come to Munich and yeah, let's build something together.
Wonderful, man. Looking forward to that. Now, Max, obviously we've just heard from yourself. I'm not sure if Harbour Industrial does private investment into actual projects, or is it primarily running validators and actually facilitating investment into various validators? Tell us a little bit about Harbour Industrial.
Yeah, it's not so much about the validators, it's more about the auctions, right, that I talked about. So yeah, the trade-off is like DOT support, like we're locking up our DOT and we get like some project tokens in return, right? That's like, you know, the well-known crowd loan model, and we just like professionalize it a little bit, I guess, and like work directly. We speak directly with the projects. I think that's you know, that's really our approach, right? Investors come in DOT, right? And our benchmark is DOT, right? So we don't care so much about like our dollar performance. I mean, obviously that's important, but you're in the Polkadot ecosystem. So our main benchmark is DOT, not the dollar, right? But you asked about like which investments, right? So I also don't want to like, you know, single out like one or two particular projects. All the projects that we invested in are parachains, right? We currently are invested in like about 15 different, since I guess many of you guys to single anyone out. But in terms of like what we're looking for from the project in order to support them. So we're still very much thinking about this in terms of the infrastructure narrative, right? So not necessarily, and there are different views, right? Like some people say like, oh, we just need like we just want to invest somewhere where the next like billion users can be onboarded, right? It's not really our approach to think this way. We're more thinking like what kind of infrastructure will the apps that support the next billion users need, right? So it is still very much like an infrastructure play. And I think, you know, most of the parachains that are currently coming online can in one way or another be considered infrastructure, right? And since Polkadot makes it interoperable, that's beautiful. You know, you need roads and bridges and power plants and sewage treatment plants, right? All of these things to have like a great city, right? And this is kind of what we're investing in, right? This is what we like. If it's like a solid infrastructure play, right? It's relatively easy for us to see like what kind of things are needed, right? It's harder to predict what is like the killer app, like everyone's looking for the next killer app. It's much easier to like predict what kind of infrastructure the next killer app is going to be built on, and that's really like what we like to invest in.
Excellent, man. Yeah, I think that's key, is building the foundational layers now for the user adoption to come. Joanna, I know you were formerly at DFG, you were formerly CIO at DFG, now have founded J Square. Give us a short intro to J Square and some of your most successful investments, if any.
Sure, thanks. So hello everybody, this is Joanna Liang, the CEO and co-founder of J Square. Basically, we are a tech-driven investment firm. I co-founded this J Square group with James at early 2021. And so because we are basically self-funded and we don't have any outside LPs, so the investment strategy is pretty flexible. And so far we have invested in over 60 projects in total, and the AUM we are managing is around $150 million. In terms of the most successful like projects that we have invested, that's a very interesting question, because starting from my career in crypto, I have invested 200 projects in total so far, and 90 projects have already exited with, and over like 95% has generated great returns. But if I like recall the best investments, or or if I have to define it, I think CoinList and FV Bank would be the ones that I think are very important especially in the bear market. As we all know that we undergo a very hard period during the past few months because of the bank crisis or something like this, and Signature and Silvergate just collapsed. But our portfolio project, FV Bank, and they are based in Puerto Rico, and their business just survived, and they did very well, and they're opening accounts for all the crypto companies in our industry, and so they're providing the very professional financial services, and this is something that I think is very important. And in terms of the application level, there is one project called Jensen, which we invested last year. It's also a parachain in Polkadot ecosystem. So they are doing the AI big language training model, and they are recently led by A16Z. I think this is something that I'm pretty excited about, because I'm pretty excited about the future of AI, the potential combination of AI and Web3 technology. Yeah, so this is basically my...
I mean, that is some summary. That's very impressive, Joanna. And I mean,
thank you.
200 investments, 90 exits already is remarkable. So I think there's a lot for us to draw from in the next... We've got now half an hour, so we really want to get in as much as we can. James, we'll end with you. Great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Everyone knows you because of your Twitter activity, but maybe not so much about how much work you put into digital finance group. You guys have made some big investments. Which ones have been the most standout for you?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Thank you about the name. So, this is James, a founder and CEO of DFG. So, I think if you want me to highlight really two investment, everyone can define what is a successful investment, right? But if you want me to highlight two names, it will be Bitcoin and Polkadot. So it's very easy logic. So Bitcoin is where everything starts. This is a fact. This is erasable. Without buying Bitcoin, for me, 9 years ago, there's nothing happening in DFG. Nothing happened to me. So that's really important. And to me, I believe that's also important to everyone in the industry. The next thing is Polkadot. So Polkadot gave me actually the biggest return in my whole investment career. And I hope, Bitcoin is where everything starts. Polkadot is where everything ends. So it is really a technology, which is fantastic. Everyone's talking about the end game, right? It's 2.0, whatever that is. But I believe Polkadot is probably kind of the end game for the crypto industry. So I guess, but it needs everyone in the community to work harder to kind of achieve that goal. So that is the reason why I think these are really the two important investments from my side.
Wow, short and sweet, and so simple. Bitcoin and Polkadot. I think a lot of people would agree with that. James, I'm going to stay with you for a second and touch on your Twitter game. It interests me, of course, being in communications. And your Twitter game is pretty impressive when you compare it to other VCs across the spectrum. I'm talking just standard tech startups, talking Web 2 and Web 3. You really have done well in growing your Twitter presence. Is that a strategic thing, or do you just naturally love the platform and love to communicate via the platform? Are you thinking about what you're going to put out? Do you have a schedule ahead? Do you have someone running your Twitter account, or is it all you on the fly?
Yes, thank you for asking that. It's actually something I always want to talk, but nobody asking. So I guess, the first to answer your question, it's actually everything is managed by myself. So our marketing team, actually, both DFG and J Square have marketing team, but they work on our official account and they work on other stuff like managing offline meetups and, all kind of maybe Twitter space and online marketing stuff. But my personal account, I manage it by myself. So I usually, spending probably at least 2-3 times a day to check my Twitter for all the information. So first I want to learn, there's a couple of ways I can get information, right? First is I'm talking to all the partners, portfolios, everyone in the industry so I can get the newest information. This is really important because the crypto trend shifts too quickly. So I need to know what is everyone's focus on, what is everyone doing right now. So this is one way. The other way is more like public information. So instead of reading all the newspapers, media, whatever, I prefer to use Twitter because it's really high efficiency. So I can probably spend in probably 10-15 minutes to browse everyone's ideas or all the news. It's really quick and important. So that's really one of the main reasons I use Twitter. And the second, beyond getting all this information, I want to share what I'm thinking about the industry. So I always kind of tweet probably once a day or something like that, and tell everyone what I'm thinking about, what I'm doing, and leave some open questions to the public and interact with people. So I think this is also a good way for us to communicate and talk. And I don't think I waste a lot of time on that. Actually, the time I spend on that is definitely worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a waste at all. It's actually valuable time spent. It's research, in essence. So, yeah, man, great job. Okay, so to the rest of the panel, let's throw out some key insights from VCs. First question I have for you, and I'll start at the end, so we'll come back around, kind of do a nice loop, because I know what it's like. I've been on many panels on your end, and you sort of go around, and then the panelist tries to sort of just pick and choose. I think it might be easier to keep the loop going. So we'll start with Christoph, but everyone, if you can answer, key value add services. And this was a suggested question that came up from Max. I really appreciated this. What are key value add services that you guys help your investments with beyond the capital contribution? Christoph.
I think in the last couple of months, it was like being the therapist. So that was like the most important role. It's I think it was super tough for the founders over the last couple of months, and I think a lot of the founders learned the lesson that money is not abundant, that the burn rate has to get down, otherwise you not survive. The issue is that we're one of the bigger VCs in the space. We put a lot of money into the Polkadot ecosystem, not exclusively, but mainly. And kind of the thing is, there's no money going around. And we had this huge discussion last night with the open government from a team who, tried to get funding outside, then tried to do it on the treasury. And I think it's what needs to be done, and I think you need to bring mainstream into the ecosystem. It's like otherwise everyone is going to run out of money, because first of all what we're trying to do is, okay, get the burn rate down and show us where you get your revenues, because you can live from your revenues. Yeah, to think, okay, I built the technology for the next 2 years, it's not going to happen because you're going to run out of money. Because who's going to do follow-up investments? Yeah, who are the next VCs? Where's the A16Z of the Polkadot ecosystem? I think and if this doesn't happen, and that's why I think you need to tell the guys, look, there's no more money. It's like we're not your piggy bank where you say, okay, shit, we ran out of money. Can you give us another $1 million? So because we are responsible for our investors, and I in the end, we're in the money-making business. That's what counts, yeah. And I think that's why you need to bring users. I mean, look at all the conferences; they're always the same people. You don't bring in new people. You need, we have our own conference in Switzerland. What we try to do is bring like old money and new money together, because if you don't teach the guys, all the asset managers, the pension funds, insurance companies who sit on a gigantic pile of money but would never touch that at the moment, if you don't teach and educate them, the space will have problems. Yeah? So you need to bring that in. Sorry, it was not exactly answering your question, but that's what we...
No, it was helpful. I think everything you've said is 100% spot on. I couldn't agree more. Sagar.
Yeah, I mean, he very well like captured 90% what I wanted to say, but
He's good.
yeah, he's good. Yeah, that's true. And no, I mean, I would like to go a little bit back where last 2 years have minted so many VCs, right? So you meet on the road, and as you mentioned, like the people are same, and every second guy is now like an investor, right? And the core value of venture capital is on top of capital, you should, so when everything is green, the good life, and I can literally imagine like if it would be the bull market, the hall would be full, and I would not be sitting here, right? So the thing is that when the shit hits the fan, excuse me for my language, but like, then the real portfolio work starts. And if you choose randomly your investors, they're not gonna help you. They just have like a bunch of people who got lucky, they have the capital, and they are on cap table. So the actual venture capital work starts when the founders start facing actual problems, like with hiring, with capital. You have to cut down your burn rate. You are not getting enough leads from the B2B or B2C sides. The people are not responding you, right? There comes the venture capital where you push your network, because venture capital is like we are doing 24/7 this work. You have to build your network, and network effect is very huge. Because if you don't know who is who in the whole ecosystem, then your startup might not have that benefit. So for any founder sitting here, please choose wisely who you want to go in bed with. So try to find the right investor and diversify as much as possible your cap table, because these are the people who are going to help you in the bad times. So do some due diligence, just don't accept their money, like just don't try to spread and pray, right? Like, okay, we're just gonna take the money and then we'll figure out later. No, that's not the right mentality.
But my question is, can you really choose who your investors are at the moment?
At the moment, no, but if you are building something, and that's also leads me to the point of like the traditional venture capital is not even into our industry at the moment. I mean, even 16s is also like, they just spread and pray, like, I'm not sure like how much they are, nothing against them, but like I'm not sure how much they are doing the portfolio work in the Web3 side. They were just like chasing the hype, like all my tier 1 VCs. Like for example, I'm fundraising for my fund. When I go to the traditional VCs, the time you tell them like you are working in blockchain, they just go away. This is the reputation we have managed to create for our industry. So fast forward, I think introduction with the potential your clients. We do like lots of personality tests where we help the founders in terms of hiring, because you don't want to hire an introvert person as your sales manager. So we have this in-house tooling which Ray Dalio introduced long ago, like 16 traits of personalities, which gives us lots of traits like what is the symptoms or like what is the behavior model the person is going to have. Because if you're hiring a sales manager, you need to make sure that guy is extrovert and he don't get tired of selling it, because otherwise you hire the introvert person, then he will not able to sell it. So it's all about sales. And on terms of like also raising the next capital round, so you need to have like a deep pocket VC. Of course, they're not gonna give you lots of capital, but they are gonna bring other people on board. And you need to find the investor who have like another 50 VCs contacts. So because it's at the end, it's all about people's business. We are investing in people, not on idea, right? Because people can change the idea, but idea cannot change the people. So like we cannot change the founder in the middle of the turmoil, like, okay, you fire and we're gonna put the new founder. It happens after series A, B, C, like a growth stage startups. In early stage startups, you need to make sure that you have the right person who is the leader. So I always say like, it's all about the pilot. It's not about the jet. It doesn't matter how old or new is the jet, but if the pilot is very well trained, then he can take you to the other side of the part, right? So Yeah, I think value proposition is very important. Where like you help them with the tech side, tech stack. Some of the VCs are like for us, like our strength is like we are very well connected in the DACH ecosystem, like German-speaking countries, where from lawyers to government bodies to the B2B to like corporates, we have like a strong connections. So we open our books for the founders. So whenever they need the introduction, whenever they want to go to the next funding round, we make sure that we at least bring them like at least 5 to 10 or 20 leads so they can do the business. I personally look into lots of competition analysis where founders needs to do the pricing accurately because we are in the money-making business, so there is like a competition is always neck to neck, where you need to make sure that the other person who is doing the tender, for example, for gaming industry or for the analytic estimation for the corporates, you want to make sure that your competitors are not giving the price quotation little bit slighter, cheaper than you are offering. So that's what we provide, and yeah.
Max, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, there are different ways to approach this question, right? How can you add more value? And I certainly agree with things that have been said before, but I probably, as you can guess from my presentation I held before, when I approach it like in a slightly different way, and that is the idea of voting support, right? I think this is something that is currently not really fully fleshed out yet, and but I think it's something that's going to be increasingly important in the future, particularly in the Polkadot ecosystem, arguably in other crypto ecosystems as well. But I mean, this is a Polkadot event, and we all like understand and engage in OpenGov, so that's why I think it's worth like thinking about this a little bit more from that angle, right? Like, how can a VC who invests in a Polkadot-based project actually support them in the long term, right? So, and again, this is nothing unique to the crypto space, right? It's think of any other industry, let's say pharmaceuticals, for example, right? Let's say a VC invests in a like drug company, like a pharmaceutical company, to develop a new drug. Okay, great, right? So first, to give them money, they have the runway to hire like the engineers and to develop the drug, right? But then it gets like to the stage of getting it approved, right? So how do you get it like through the often very complicated FDA approval process, right? So this is something very specific for this industry, right? But it could also be something completely different, right? Of course, like companies who are building something in any industry, really, they have a vested interest that like certain votes in parliament, let's say, go in a certain direction, right? It's extremely important for them, right? If they develop a drug and then it doesn't get approval, they wasted like billions, right? Like, this is not great. So I think in the blockchain industry, this is still a bit of a newish trend, but I think it's going to be one that is more and more important, right? And just to make it a bit more concrete here, right? For certain parachains that are developing on top of Polkadot, certain things are going to be particularly important, right? I mean, there are two obvious examples, right? One is treasury proposals, right? Of course, if they're proposing something to get funded for, they have a very clearly like vested interest in having that pass, right? So that's kind of one thing, that seems very direct, and it actually is very direct. But then there are also like more abstract things, right? That, for example, certain upgrades to the code base are being made in Polkadot, right? Something that is very technical, of course, but that benefits like a certain project because they need it. And then if they really want to get that passed, right, because it really is important to their business model, then, a VC who is already invested in those projects and who also happens to hold DOT, right, and can actively engage in in the governance, right, has on the one hand side incentive, but on the other hand side also a responsibility to help them, to support them. And maybe one last thought about this. It's not just about like your own votes, right? It's also about sort of whipping up votes, if you want to use like a funny term, right? Like whipping up like sort of finding a consortium, or however you want to call it, like a syndicate, right, where people are voting together, voting in a block. I think this is a really big value add, like from the perspective of a VC to help like one of their portfolio companies.
Yeah, really interesting and really Polkadot focused as well there. I appreciate that. Joanna?
Yeah, as Max already mentioned, so because crypto industry is still a newish trend and an emerging industry, so I think actually both projects and VC firms should be versatile to some extent, because the whole industry is not set into a specific order so far. So, but in terms of the positioning part, I think projects should be more focused on the business. They should take over the whole business part. And for our VC firms, we need to be like we need to be able to be capable of tackling everything except for the business part. So let's give some example about this. Like if you want to expand presence in a certain region, we need to like give them some regional connections, and we need to help them for talent acquisition because we are more familiar with this space. Besides this, maybe also in terms of the later stage of the projects, if you want some market making solutions, and because we've dealt with so many like market makers in this space so far, so we can help the projects identify which is the right partner to cooperate with, and this is the same case with listing. So I think these are some of the very practical things that VC firms should help with the projects.
And James?
Yeah, I think it depends on the market, right? If it's in a bear market like this, I mean, it's all about survival. So I guess the fund is actually the cash is most important things, right? If you're running out of cash, then that's a huge problem. I think we decide to save a few business already to provide bridge funding. As long as the project is good enough, so I think worth saving, then I'm going to save it. And of course, I will also introduce other VCs, what I think about these VCs are good VCs to invest as well. So I think in the bear market, it's all about survival. And if you are good enough, if you already have good, tractions, anything, just, have a good, end goal for the VC to survive, to support, then we were probably going to save it. So that's the bear market strategy. In the bull market, I mean, value add is more about, just like Joanna and other one says, it's about, tons of resources we can give in our networking, all these kind of marketing, listing, whatever things that is, we're going to support and give to the project. So in the bull market, the strategy I would say is more about the growth, and in the bear market, it's more about the survival. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that distinction between the two market cycles. Just want to confirm, Harold, we have about 15 minutes left. 5 minutes left. Okay, so we have to move along. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get through two more very, very quick ones at the end, but this is the key question for the panel here. What do you look for in a founder or a startup? Do you look primarily at the founder as well, or is it the business model? Is it a combination? Starting with Christoph.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I mean, in the end, everyone says we're looking for the founders, and that's the most important thing. Of course, I mean, what you shouldn't forget, it depends also on the stage where you invest. Yeah? If it's a seed or pre-seed or a stage, then usually the whole project pivots like 3-4 times in the first 2 years anyway. So if the founders are strong, that could work. Yeah. If the founders are weak, and you have a good project, but they have to pivot, but then they have a fallout, then you have a problem. Yeah. So I mean, look, the thing is, I come from a traditional asset management business, yeah? So, I mean, the things, they were done in the end, you have to look the guys in the eye and say, do I want to work with them? Because in the end, I know that Gavin always says less trust, more truth, but how do you know what's the truth in a founder? So if you don't trust them to make that happen, then I think you will have a problem. Yeah. So what we're currently looking for is user adoption. We like projects which bring users to the space, because all our portfolio companies profit from that. Yeah. It's like we spoke briefly before that we put a large chunk of our fund into mythical gaming, which has millions of users. I mean, why we did that was because we think gaming will be the killer app for the space, because you will have most of the users there. And second of all, of course, I mean, what you said before is like you have the network effect of the portfolio. All our portfolio companies could profit from a bunch of users coming into the space, and you need digital identity. Maybe you need some music thing. Maybe you need some streaming across that. And I think that's what you need to do. I mean, we do very few investments. We have 15 portfolio companies, so it's not a lot. So we write large checks because, I mean, you need to be prepared to go 2-3 years now. And what you mentioned before also, you need to have you can have the best technical founder if you don't have a sales guy there who brings in user and revenues. It's like the VHS and Betamax story. You can have the best technology, if you can't get the adoption, you're dead. Yeah. So that's what we're looking for.
Sagar.
Yes, same. I will keep it very short. So domain know-how. Founders should know what they're building. So basically, like they should have like at least skin in the game. Basically, like they did something in previously, like something random guy will come and say like, hey, I'm gonna solve like a typical pharmacy industry problem. We're not gonna invest. He should or she should have a domain know-how. Personalities are very important for us, like as a team. What is the team dynamic looks like, and what they're building? Do we have the market there, pre-product market fit? Or pre-product market fit revenue, sort of like a small revenue generation. We would like to talk to their potential clients or potential customers who will pay them, and of course the geographical location based on what they're building. If they're building something unique for Europe, they should be in Europe, not in Asia, or either way, vice versa, right? So for us, that's important. As Christoph said, like we are pre-seeded seed stage startups investors. So for us, important is like who is going to build that. And you have like a 12 to 18 months of runway where this is the startup death valley zone where most of the startup fails. They don't even make it to the late seed or series A round. So we always like focusing on the founders, but for us important is also like what they're building.
Yeah, I probably don't have a very unique opinion on this either. Yeah, obviously the person matters, right? Like I think nobody would discuss with that, right? If it's a great idea, but like the person clearly that does not have the ability to pull it off, then it's just not going to work out, right? Because it does take a lot of dedication and skills and the right attitude, so to speak, to make something happen, any kind of startup. But then again, so yes, founder is important, but we also like to think about it sort of very much from like a business model, right? If it's something that it already exists, or it's like a copy of something, like okay, like it's much harder to like justify why you want to still go with them, even if it's like a brilliant founder, right? But like their idea is something that already exists. It's like a copy. It's like yet another something, right? So that's not so interesting. But then on the other hand, like especially in this stage, right, where we are right now, like we get like a pretty good feeling for like, oh, that's like a great business model, right? Of course, can they pull it off? It's a different question. So, it's not an either or. You always need both a good founder and a good model.
Yeah, I think this varies from like different types of projects. Like for layer 1 protocols or infrastructure or middle layer projects, this type of projects require more technical background, and we need to dive very deep into the underlying technology, and whether it will work out in the end. But for application level, they're like, this is more inclined to mass adoption applications. So in terms of this kind of projects, I think the verticals and areas matters the most. And like Max has mentioned, what kind of problems are trying to tackle, trying to solve, and what the business model you have set up. And but for all these projects, all this type of projects, people are one of the like biggest thing that we will focus a lot about.
Yeah, I think if the founder is given wood, then you will invest directly, right? So, but the reality is most of the founders are not given wood. So it's actually, it's very hard for, founder these days to have a super good track record in the crypto industry. So most people don't have like a, lot of years of experience in the industry. So, so it's hard to really tell whether the founder is good or not unless you do super deep due diligence. So I think this is the trick here. Everyone can say that, okay, we need the founder to be good enough, but the reality is how would VC knows about it, right? So this is really the hard problem here. But of course, we need good founders. I think the business model is more direct and straightforward. We would definitely need good business model. I think one thing I don't like a lot is copy, one business model and reuse it into the other layer one protocol ecosystem. I think that's just a simple waste of time. It's not going to work. So, I mean, the business model for the project has to be very innovative. You have to be still solve the real problem of the maybe not too much, maybe just solve one or two specific problem in this ecosystem. That should be good enough. So I guess, what we view this is, you probably need to, if you are a founder, then you probably still need to come up with some, good kind of business model. Then after that, you probably will get enough fund.
All right. Well, thanks so much, James. And to the rest of the panel, unfortunately, we are now at our time. I think that was incredibly insightful. And to the audience, I'd encourage you to go check all of these VCs out on Twitter. You can find them simply by going to ParisDOT.comm's Twitter handle, and they have been mentioned around this panel. If you can't find the actual personality themselves, then you can find their fund as well, which is on Twitter and active there. So to all of you, my panelists, Christoph, Sagar, Max, Joanna, and James, thank you so much for your time and your insights and for what you're doing for the industry. Thank you. Please, a big round of applause for our VC panel.
Thank you, Jim.
Great. So we need fresh money, skills to build this wonderful ecosystem. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, James, for the moderation. Yeah, you can, this way or this way. You can choose. I think it's better this way. Okay, now I would like you to welcome Arnaud Kemphuis from the famous Sandbox. Arnaud, please, can you join me on the stage? Okay, you can take the pointer is here. Yep. Please welcome Arnaud. Okay, your turn.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Yep, great. And I appreciate the Dutch pronunciation on the last name. Thank you. So yeah, I guess we're already started. Great to have you here, guys. So this is a quick presentation about the Sandbox, so different topic from what we just saw. Maybe a quick show of hands. You mentioned that the Sandbox was famous. I'm happy to hear it. Has anyone here heard about the Sandbox before? Please raise your hand. Great, happy to see that. Second question, who has ever played in the Sandbox? Okay, less hands, but I still appreciate. And who has built in the Sandbox? Awesome, okay. Hopefully, if you don't understand these questions, by the end of this presentation, you'll have a better idea of what I meant. And maybe you'll be inspired to either go out and play in the Sandbox or create or both. So let me check if this works. Yes, it does. So here's a quick intro just to give you an idea of what we make. Basically, we are a platform for people to be able to create their own games without necessarily the need for knowing how to code or being an expert in 3D modeling. The reason for this is because first the Sandbox was originally a 2D game on iOS that really started as a way for people to share their experiences. You might be familiar with games like Mario Maker, for example. It was a bit more involved than that, in that you could really create your own assets. You didn't have to use the assets that were already in the platform, and then you could share them with basically different people throughout the platform. It had 14 million downloads. It was a very popular game, but the creators didn't really get rewarded for the success of the platform. And so when blockchain came along, and when especially NFTs came along, the co-founders of the Sandbox decided maybe we have something now to actually engage the creators more and make them really benefit from the contribution they make to this platform. So on top of that, what is very clear today, and this is where the graph comes in, we are now on the cusp of having a majority of the world population as digital natives. I think most people here have still know a less digital life, but for most people who are a little bit younger, at least than myself, it's become really second nature, or even, shall I say, first nature, to actually be online, be able to share their thoughts directly online on social networks, and are definitely familiar with Web 2.0. So that also means that we're growing now in virtual worlds, and whether it's physically growing because people are still young, or whether it's older people like me, we're still growing in that we're also learning a lot of new things. You can really have within the palm of your hand all the knowledge really that's out there. And that also means that we spend over 12 hours per week just in virtual worlds, whether they're different social networks or games and things like that. And that's even more than watching TV today. So based on that, really, the thing is, what you notice is that we engage a lot more than we used to. Again, watching TV is a passive pastime, and now with, again, social networks and interactive experiences such as video games, most people are now super involved in what they do. And we had a panel yesterday talking about this a little bit more, but it means that the communities are a lot more deeper because they're more engaged. They are actually creating stuff. And that also makes younger people really aspire to be not just passive consumers, but actually creators, to actually participate in whatever media they're interacting with. And so here what you see is that 75% of Gen Z wants to be basically creators. And the other thing that's coming along that's a little bit more recent is the idea of digital ownership. One example, if you're a gamer, is things like having grinding a game up to a point where you get a special armor kit or a special weapon, or even buying skins for a game like Fortnite or Call of Duty, or all kinds of things that could even be rewards, such as just like prestige rewards, like being a platinum trophy owner on PlayStation on certain games. Those are become really valued to people who are involved in these interactive media. And this is the first step, really, that's been around for a while. Now, what we saw, and as everybody knows here, I think, the blockchain kind of supercharged this concept of ownership, where you can literally own it now through NFTs and through blockchain and verifiable means. That means that the actual spend on NFTs in 2022 was actually adding up to $40 billion. So our mission, I'm sorry, I'm going to step out here to make sure I don't mess it up. Our mission is to empower the creator generation to build new forms of experiences based on true digital ownership. And the aspect of this, really this empowering creators, mean we have to make tools that are easy for anyone to use, that you shouldn't have to graduate, an art school. Great if you did, but if you didn't, you still have a chance to create stuff, or that you didn't have to, take years of programming to learn how to create stuff. If you did, again, all the better, but if you didn't, you can still create in the sandbox. Now, this means that we have created an ecosystem, and I'll get into that in depth a little bit more later, that really is at the crossroads of content creation with the ability to create your own art and assets that you can then use in the game, and NFTs. We are also at the crossroads of culture with many brand partners that I'll be giving you a little snapshot of in a second. An economy that's developing as the platform works, and it's decentralized so that, again, creators can benefit from their contribution to the platform. Blockchain, obviously, as I mentioned before, and experiences, so engaging people through a new kind of entertainment, and that can also be done through avatars, which is, again, as mentioned before, a new sort of identity that has come along over the last few years or decades, first in video gaming, but now you can see everywhere. You can see, whether they're PFP's actual NFTs or even, profile pictures that are inspired. Some are even like generated by AI and things like that. People are reinventing themselves online. So real quick, this is a snapshot of the partners that we've already worked with. We have Atari in the gaming industry. In crypto, we have Bored Apes, we have Binance. In music and art, we have, many, deadmau5, Diplo, Paris Hilton. Entertainment, we have, the Smurfs, The Walking Dead. We have all kinds of industries, basically, that have, expressed a very strong interest in developing things in the sandbox. And mainly because I think that the common thread among all of these very varied partners is the idea of trying to reach out to their audience and make themselves really engaged in a more participative way than just, again, having them consume whatever they're selling, and making sure that they engage with their community on a deeper level. So the sandbox itself, we're an ecosystem, as I mentioned before, but it all starts and ends with this map that we've created, which is basically a finite amount of lands. There are 166,464 lands total. There won't be any more ever. It's just a finite amount to create this sense of digital geography. We talk a lot about digital ownership, but why does that work? Because, again, through the blockchain, you can have this proof of ownership of things. Well, you can really do that in a different way, in a very similar way, with a concept of geography. Because if you own a land in the sandbox, it's immutable. You can't move it from one place to another. There's no centralized authority that allows you to do that. You can't get into our code and change that. It's on the blockchain, and where you are on the map is your land is tied to a coordinate that has, a very specific place, and that means you have neighbors. That means where you are actually matters in a way, depending on what kind of community you want to be part of. And I find that super exciting personally because, I've always loved exploring digital worlds since I was a kid playing on video games and stuff, even offline before the internet was even really a major thing. And what's crazy is you think about the idea of having that on a much more broader level, I think is quite interesting. And it's not in a centralized universe like you would have in World of Warcraft, but really it is in something that is very universal, and that, your neighbor could be, a land from The Walking Dead or Snoop Dogg or even just other creators who you can start interacting with and maybe build synergies with. And that makes the sandbox really a great forum for people to share their different perspectives and also creativity, but also just make it a huge mashup for cultures and everything else. So really the idea is, what you can do in the sandbox today is play games. We're live. We have both curated experiences that are starting to come out again because we just upgraded our engine. So it's been live for a couple of days now. But on top of that, I think it's very important to mention that for a while, again, we're still in alpha stage, so it's still early. But we have curated experiences that we're distributing basically for our users, but also we're starting to open for landowners to be able to publish their own experiences without us curating them. So right now we have this QA process, and people can apply if you have a land and you've already created your own experience to actually get early launch basically, and that will allow you to start sharing your experience with your community. So playing games, having work sessions. We've worked with fashion brands before to design your own create some collections, and so you can also create your own in VoxEdit and GameMaker. I'll get back to those in a little bit. Museums and galleries. We try to also make sure that we become ambassadors for Web3 cultures and make sure that we can showcase all the great things that are happening in Web3 in terms of art. Travel and tourism, we worked with tourism offices around the world who wanted to showcase a country, a region, and recreate like a miniature version of that and express the culture, the local culture for that. Obviously, housing and all that stuff that goes with creativity, really, including social hubs, of course, with multiplayer experiences and where people can go and we've done a few concerts with Snoop, Paris Hilton. We're developing more features for those concerts to be even more integrated and engaging. So I was just talking about the GameMaker and VoxEdit. So those are two tools. So everything is free in the sandbox. There's usually this impression that getting into Web3 is always costs money. Well, I think it's not true for a lot of things, and including the sandbox. We have obviously a game client. If you want to play the game, you just download it on sandbox.game. Same, if you go on sandbox.game and go in the create section of the website, you'll find two download options. One is for VoxEdit, and the other one is for GameMaker. VoxEdit allows you to create assets, such as all the things you see here have been created in VoxEdit. That little DJ booth, those little platforms, everything there. You can create that, and it's very easy. You don't need any really prior training. You can just go and start building those things together, putting those things together like 3D Lego, really. And then what you do is, this is actually also in VoxEdit. It allows you to rig and if you're familiar a little bit with 3D design, rig your character, meaning you can define exactly how the character will animate, where all the joints are, and then you can animate them with keyframes. On top of that, the GameMaker, once you've done all of that, the GameMaker will allow you to put those assets together into a comprehensive experience with a starting point, enemies or challenges or puzzles, and obviously an endpoint once you've finished. And this is all created, you can create all of that without really needing to type a single line of code. Everything is intuitive, and it's made to really create logic gates through a graphical user interface. So again, this allows you to go starting with creation, engage game designers, even fashion designers, as we've done before. People who are into VFX, architects, all those people. I mean, we've worked with all kinds of different people or companies that are in those different industries that are just interested in developing these. There's actually a house builder in Miami who created a version of his house in the sandbox as well while he's building it in the real world, and it's kind of fun to see. He's made a lot of like Easter eggs, that are hidden both in the experience and in the actual IRL house. Those things I think are super interesting, and it's just the beginning of what things are going to become. Play, obviously we have the gamers, the coaches, as games get already a little bit competitive sometimes in the sandbox, so you already have like people online giving tips and tricks on how to get better at the game. Collectors, people collecting NFTs. Guild managers, so I think that's a little bit work in progress, but like this is coming. Discovery, again, as I said, learning new cultures, discovering new experiences. As mentioned, we have partners from all over the world to a point where if you're not, you might be a fan of, Captain Tsubasa, who's like Olivier Tom in France. If you're a fan of those, might just want to get in the sandbox for that, but then you might run into, characters from The Walking Dead, characters from IPs you might not know of, like Pororo, which is a very famous Korean IP. All of those things are made on purpose so that people can start really learning about new experiences and new cultures and really opening their minds. Business, obviously, with people who become virtual real estate agents, landowners, NFT resellers, you name it. I mean, all those things are also, possible in the sandbox. Community also, obviously, building communities is really key to UGC, user-generated content, and building really a strong creator economy. So throughout the history of the sandbox, we have already put in a lot of effort in empowering our creators, as I mentioned before, and that also goes through a fund, through which we spent money to actually be able to incubate some of the best builders who have come to us and wanted to express interest in building in the sandbox. Again, whether it's through just NFT sales organically, by having them create their NFTs and then selling them on the marketplace, it generated about 10 million sand. We also have different studios that we, again, helped and commissioned. They submit their game design document and their project, and then if they get approved, then they can get started in building in the sandbox. On top of that, what's important also is just the idea of creating an avatar. So through the sandbox, what we want also is people to be able to start expressing themselves in new ways. And so one of the things is when you look at all the different NFTs that we have avatar collections, we have all kinds of assets. And again, we're going to open more features so that people can more easily create their experiences, but also their avatar collections, and make them seamlessly easy to actually put together and put on the marketplace and share with other people. With avatars, again, we have this kind of, as you can tell, voxelized aesthetics, because everything to make things very easy to build. Like we make the idea of having the sandbox being completely voxelized. This is Snoop in Gucci, so that was actually made in partnership with Snoop, but also, people create their own avatars, obviously. What we want to do also is create some sort of interoperability system, and that's why we also have a lot of bridged collections. For example, starting with World of Women, but also many different Web3 collections like CyberKongs and all others. We started creating collections that if you only have a PFP, and some of those collections originally were just, PFPs, i.e. just pictures, JPEGs. Well, now if you have that NFT in your wallet, when you connect to the sandbox, it will automatically allow you to use that character as an avatar. And this is an example of, Snoop, an original avatar from the sandbox. But again, if you have any of those collections at this stage, and even more now because we've bridged since we've made this slide, because we bridge a lot, Moonbirds, People of Crypto, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Gutter Cats, whatever you have among those collections, you can go in the sandbox and use whatever NFT you have from that collection. It will automatically load up your character, which I think is really cool and means that, again, the sandbox is a metaverse, it's not the metaverse. We're trying to really bridge among other worlds, whether they're completely new to Web3, just like a lot of the brands we mentioned before, or really Web3 native collections like these. I think this is actually brings me to my next point, and it's very important, is when we start working also with brands that might not be familiar with Web3, we want to make sure that they understand what the value Web3 is, which is really, it's based on these 5 pillars, which is giving value to fans and loyal users. Again, we want them to be able to participate in how they experience the brand within the sandbox. Reward them also for their contributions, whether it's through, again, creating collections and things like that. If those brands work in partnership with builders, we want to make sure that the builders also, through blockchain, also are rewarded for that. Embrace NFT culture. What does that mean? One example that I like to give is if we have a new brand, for example, coming in that might not be, might be an anime brand or even a film franchise. Instead of just going in and saying, hey, we're going to make like this NFT collection and all that stuff, we usually start with, like, for example, a game jam, which means we reach out to our community and also beyond to find people who are, really excited about this brand or IP, and tell them, hey guys, now's your time to actually invent something based on that, and try to get inspired by whatever it is that we want to work with, to make sure that we can really give them control and a real proactive participation. And that just makes, again, engagement into the brand that much deeper, because what you realize is people spend, sometimes hours and hours and tens of hours building something and putting a lot of effort and a lot of love into what they like. And I think there's this engagement that I think is very valuable also to understand for anyone really within the community to understand better how everything works. Encourage user-generated content. I've already pretty much covered that. And put creativity first. Again, we don't want to become another passive form of entertainment. We want to create a new form of entertainment where people are really participating in building this almost like new dimension for our partners and our creators. So again, these are examples of game jams we've had in the past, with The Walking Dead, with the Smurfs, with Cyberkongs, with Atari, and Pororo, as I mentioned before, Deadmau5, and again, indie games, AAA games, and everything in between, but also series, films, and Web3 collections. So here are a couple. So I think usually there's like this really cool beat, but we'll do without it. These are a few examples of things that we've built with our partners. This is Gucci Vault's Land. So Gucci wanted to develop something in the sandbox that expresses their this vault, this concept, and it's all obviously been created within the sandbox with a tool that I mentioned before, and allows you to explore again this brand in a brand new way. I think what's really interesting about the sandbox is, if you're, for example, like a musical artist, by working in the sandbox, I have discovered bands, and instead of just, going on Spotify and listening to their music, I actually got to play their experience for the first time. That was my first interaction with their creation. And what's interesting is that, of course, you get to hear the music while playing, but also you see and you really enter their world in a brand new way. And that was the case for me for Avenged Sevenfold, where I ended up like in this old Western town, with all kinds of like crazy architecture and kind of characters and everything. And it's just like a very different experience from just going on Spotify and listening to something passively. This is, and maybe it looks like it's freezing a little bit. This is a Paris Hilton activation we did with her also, but I think, let me see if I can reload the slide and see if it works. If it doesn't, I invite you guys to check it out on our YouTube channel. Oh, there it is. It's starting. So this is a fun experience we made with Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton is very much engaged into Web3. Like, she's been doing a lot of things, and same thing, I actually tried out this experience, and it was a brand new way for me to experience that, which was really cool. I got a couple more examples, and then I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up. This is Rabbids for around the Lunar New Year. We partnered with Rabbids from Ubisoft and created this experience to celebrate Lunar New Year. And it seems like it hasn't cut off. It was just playing a little bit strangely. And yeah, Spinning Records again with a DJ contest that has been made, and that we actually also had an experience around that and created a contest for people to be able to do that. There, we got sound now for this one. So we'll finish with a little bit of music, and I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up in a couple minutes. So again, especially when it comes to concerts, we want to create even more features. So stay tuned on our socials, at the Sandbox Game, and also check out Sandbox.comm to see how we can keep building the metaverse together. This is again only one of the metaverses that are out there, but I think it's important for us to keep engaging and to create bridges between every community within Web3 and beyond. So feel free to check it out and speak to me after this so that we can see how we can build this together. Thank you very much.
Great. Amazing. So Sandbox is literally paving the way to an open metaverse. That's impressive. Thank you. Thank you, Arnaud. So now let's welcome our next speakers, which is Sean Ishikawa from Astar Network, who will speak about Web3 in Japan. I don't know if Sean is there. If you can join me on the stage. Oh, you're there. Perfect. Okay, so here's your mic, and this is the pointer. Okay, the stage is yours.
Hi, good morning. My name is Shun Ishikawa. So I'd like to talk about Web3 in Japan. Oops, sorry. Okay, it works. So I'm from Astor Network. Then like probably you guys may know about Astor Network. Astor Network is the smart contract layer. So we basically enabling smart contract deployment, not only EVM, but also WebAssembly in smart contract by using the technology of the Polkadot. So like my name is Shun Ishikawa. I'm CEO at Astor Foundation. So back in time, so Japan is really big market in terms of the crypto trading or crypto holdings. So this is the history. This is the data that I get from 2018. So like, sorry, the chart is a bit small, but more than 50% of the Bitcoin is trading with Japanese yen. Obviously, Japanese yen are used by the Japanese, not by the non-Japanese, right? Then it means in the Japan ecosystem, like the trading or the interest toward Bitcoin is really huge at that time. And then so the data shows that Japan is the biggest market in terms of the BTC trading volume back in 2017 and 19. You guys may know about Mt. Gox, which was the biggest back in 2000, I guess, 14 or 13. Then also, Japan was the regulation leader. So Japan was the first country that introduced the regulation about cryptocurrency. Then, ICO, when ICO was bubble, everything was crazy. Then Japan leads the initiatives about the regulations as well. So, so this was, back in time. Then actually, we experienced a long, dark age, I would say, from 2018. This is like old slide. So it should have say 500 million. So you guys may know about like CoinCheck incident back in 2018. Then they got hacked. Their hot wallet. Then more than about 500 million USD worth name on some other token that got hacked. But just as a disclaimer, CoinCheck just repay all the damage for users. So in terms of the user damages, it's already recovered. And then CoinCheck still is like operating in a good condition. So they are experiencing like large profit or something like that. Then actually they are one of the backer of the Astor network as well. So like still I will from the some of the latest exchanges. And because of that, government needs to introduce really strict regulations to protect their consumers. So that's why government introduced really strict regulations, which decrease the number of developers, number of entrepreneurs, number of business activities, number of interest from users, enterprises, big companies, cities, and so on. So we experienced this like long, like dark age from 2018, and then that is why back in like DeFi summer or some of the summer, like some of the crypto bubble, Japan was not get so much attention. But Web3 in Japan awakens. And then that is why I'm thankfully talking about Japan in Paris now. Yeah, of course, like as you may know, Japan has the third biggest economy, and then population is really a lot. They have strong IPs. Then actually like last Sunday or Saturday, there's like a Japan Festa in Paris. Then I know like Japan and France or Paris has good combination around it. But yeah, Web3 in Japan awakens back in like 2018 20 and 20, like 21, about 21. So about like Uniswap, Comp, like DeFi Summer, and then also like Flow and some of a lot of like IEO happen. Then Web3 wave glow worldwide, right? Then everyone, like every global, every countries, every businesses are started to focusing on Web3 instead of saying a cryptocurrency or blockchain. Then actually there's one iconic Japanese founder whose name is Sota Watanabe. Actually, and then he is the founder of the Asta Network. And then currently he's as well as working as founder of the Asta Network, he's also working as CEO at Startup Labs, which I will introduce later. And then he's also chosen Forbes 30 under 30 as year as well as the Japan. Then yeah, Asta is my also my project. So it's a smart contract protocol. Top project in Polkadot ecosystem in terms of the market cap and some of the other stats. Then we are backed by Polychain, Binance, OKX, like DFG, and then also we collected like about like 400 million USD worth DOT token back in like one and a half years ago. So because of him, like Japanese government and a lot of enterprises changed their attitude toward supporting Web3 instead of like preventing Web3. Then, so here's just one interesting example, like Sota Watanabe's problem. So this is not about Sota himself's problem. Like this is different as the issue that Japanese government needs to solve to keep their position. Then like at that time, like Web3 is very niche market. Then like, so there's a tax regulation, strict tax regulations for the issued token. Then like, even though we don't sell anything, we don't transfer anything, we need to pay tax for the unrealized gain. You know what? Like when the token valuation is like 1 billion, and if we have like half of them for the ecosystem, fund, marketing, a lot of stuff. So like the company will have 500 million worth native token, right? Then in that case, even though they don't use it, they need to recognize it as a profit because the original value was 0. So no startups, no project can pay the tax for that kind of ridiculously amount. Then that is why Sota Watanabe or the Asta Network project was originally started in Japan, but we need to move to Singapore. And then some company or even like some companies, some projects are moved to Singapore or Dubai or Switzerland. Then this is like a significant issue that like a Japanese government like losing the talent or projects or maybe like future source of income in terms of tax to the like non-Japanese countries. So that is why Japanese government see this as Sota Watanabe's problem. Then actually they made it. The Japanese government listened to solve this issue. So Sota Watanabe himself, like, sorry, it's not about me, but I'm not interested in that area much. But so he is like advising a lot of stuff for the leading party in the Japanese council. So like there's a lot of guys who's wearing suits, but because of the narrative of the Web3, they're not actually tied. So like we talked with like the Minister of Digital Economy, Finance, and also like leading a group of the Web3. And actually, there's a group called Web3 teams. Then they are pushing like Web3 and then trying to find how to make the Web3 in use case happen in Japan. So there's like this kind of government-related activity in Japan. So I would like to explain why Japanese government, as well as the enterprise, as well as the investors, like a lot of people are interested in Web3 as well, supporting the Web3. I'm saying Japan pride here, but actually it's like a negative thing actually. So we are saying this the last 30 years. Like I would say like all the Japanese knows about this fact. So you guys may know about Toyota, Sony, and some of the car companies, banks, not sure. But about more than 30 years ago, out of top 50 companies, 32 companies are from Japan. So I'm now like 27, and I cannot imagine the situation, to be honest. So right now, there's only one company listed in the top 50 companies in terms of the equity market, value, which is Toyota, actually. So this is, I guess, I can see also like many Japanese here, but I can say this is like a common sense that we lost at the Web 2 era. We don't have a Google, we don't have Facebook, we don't have Apple, even though we had a huge opportunity, let's say for the hard device, like smartphone device, there's huge opportunity. There, in terms of the laptop, there's also huge opportunity, but we lost it. And in terms of the application platform, we don't have any like global big ones. So this is one narratives that we are saying for enterprise and government. Then this is also one reason why they are supportive for Web3. Okay, so I guess this is the most important or the messaging slide today. Like, why is Japan so exciting in the exciting in Web3 in the world today? Like, as I say, there's a government-led growth, right? So actually, this is totally opponent from like recent activity in the U.S. Let's say, like 2 years ago, U.S. government are positive, but because of the FTX incident, some of the incident, you guys may know that U.S. market is not that hot as of now because of the security regulation. Yeah, of course, repos, SEC, there's a slightly positive activities these days, but still, many U.S. companies, many U.S. projects are suffering from the regulations, as well as maybe Europe as well. Actually, I'm living in Netherlands, and then I'm recently kicked out from Binance. Like Binance doesn't allow Netherlands residents to trade in Binance, stuff like that. So this is one reason why Japan is hot in Web3 now. And then second reason is very limited damage from two major incidents last year, which is Luna Terra incident as well as the FTX incident. This is really thanks-free because of the strict regulations. Because of the strict regulations, they are not allowed any activity in Japan. That is why many Japanese traders, users, enterprise that does not have much exposure for those those currency or those places. Then luckily we don't get like not much damages from those incidents. Even though in the other countries this is like huge impact. Not only for the damage, the amount of the money or asset, but also the impact of the negative news, right? But they are not that popular in Japan. So in terms of the impression from those consumers, traders, enterprise, Web3's image is not get affected from those two major incidents last year. Then third, it's also big impact that we have strong foundation of the content-related industry, which is gaming, which is anime, which is manga. You guys know that, right? Like One Piece, Naruto, Pokemon. Those are from the Japanese content industry. Then as well as that, Japanese really likes to spend the money for enjoying content. So that is why, let's say for the existing gaming area, Japan still has like third biggest, following US and China, and the movie, anime content, they're spending a lot of money, resources for this area. And then obviously this is good synergy with NFT, fan engagement, loyalty. Yeah, there's a bunch of opportunity for the Japanese business, content creator. So this is also one big reason why Japan is excited in Web3. And then fourth, it's related to number 3. So because of 1 to 3, the impression virtual Web3, it's not that bad because we don't get damage, and they have their own IP or contents which they would like to bring it to overseas. Like in the existing contents, they didn't get sales from the non-Japanese country, even though there is huge community outside of Japan. So they see Web3 can bring the actual value that can be returned for the creator. And because of the narrative that I introduced, we lost the Web 2 era, we cannot lose in Web 3 era, this kind of stuff. Because of that, we are seeing the beginning of the full-scale entry of the enterprises. So that is like those 4 points are the reason why Web3 in Japan is recently hot. Then actually like last month there is like the biggest startup events. Then more than half are occupied by the crypto, and actually right after ECC there's an event called WebX, which is the new one started from this year, but it's really huge. Then like Prime Minister, like Minister of the Digital, or those guys are also presenting in the Web3, and then they are putting Web3 as like a national policy. Then so anyway, the government push the Web3 really much. Then those are the things that is going on in Japan. So that is why Aster is going back to Japan, then starting doing businesses there. So so I would like to explain what is going on by using the actual cases, so that you guys can understand what kind of situation or what kind of application, what kind of enterprises are coming in Japan. So one is Toyota, the biggest company in Japan. Then actually Toyota is interesting in DAO, even though they are one of the biggest biggest organization. So I can also say that one of the greatest DAO can be Toyota, because even though the founders are dead, or founders are succeeded to the next one, even though the directors are changed, even though the entire team got are changed or replaced, they're still producing a good quality of cars. It means they are keep maintaining, improving, and then the idea of Kaizen, right? Then so it sounds weird that Toyota is DAO, but it still works. Then that is why they're interested in DAO. Then with the joint forces with us network, we are doing the DAO Web3 hackathon, which is specialized for DAO. Then over 430 participants joined there. So we work together with the Polkadot and Web3 Foundation in this area. And then Toyota is also interested in doing more, so that they can do the mobility related services, which is I'm quite excited. Then the other one is Sony. So actually Sony is the second biggest one, which we also work together. Then we did Sony incubation program. So Sony has a lot of group companies inside. You guys may know about Sony Pictures, Sony Music Entertainment, and then you guys are seeing a lot of movies from Sony levels, and gaming PlayStations, and headphones, a lot of stuff. So we had incubation projects with Sony. Then over 200 application from all over the world. Then we made it. And then actually we will have second cohort, especially for the gaming area. So if you guys are interested in that one, just let me know. It is for the leading Web3 gamings. So this is just some example from the output. Let's say this Anik is one of the NFT studio for the IPs, so that they can bring their IP or contents for non-Japanese countries by using the power of the NFT or blockchain. So NTT, actually the NTT is the fourth biggest in Japan, and also we work together. So NTT, which is the like a AT&T in Japan. or KPN in Japan, they are committing to like 4 billion worth JPY for the Web3 industry, actually. So they are really serious that like Web3 can be like a good potential for their has a synergy with their internet infrastructures, as well as their user bases. So we have already announced the collaboration with them. Then we cannot disclose much more, but we are planning to like some infrastructure layer development with them. Then this is some cases about the NFT or contents related. So we work together with Yoshitaka Amano, which was one of the illustrators for the Final Fantasy, you may know. Then they are launching the NFT projects, which is called Candy Girls. Then actually in the Omotesanda, it's close to Shibuya, there's a gallery that is always showing their some of the artwork related to the Candy Girls. So, like, those IP-related movements are also happening. Then the other thing is Calbee, which is the biggest retail snack company. You can see it like a Lay or Lay for the potato chips, but they are producing more than like a lot of stuff. So users, when users buy the potato chips in anywhere, in supermarket, convenience store, drugstore, you know, like they can mint their NFT. Then more and more they purchase the potato chips. The character or NFT is glowing. Then they gain access to the limited contents as well as the like a special additional snacks. So you can find this collaboration has been over, but you can find like this in like, literally any of the retail store. Sorry. Okay, hope that doesn't. Okay, so I also would like to collaboration with the transportation related. So one is Tokyo Railway, which is like a private but really big railway companies. Then you can see the train from the around the Shibuya as well as the Yokohama prefecture. So we are distributing NFT by using us network and then the train of the Tokyo Railway. So there's a lot of actually fun, like people who would like to live in along with the Tokyo Railway, which actually I'm also one of them. So a lot of people are like will be jump in the queue for the minting of the NFT. Then I see a lot of queues so for people who would like to mint the NFT actually. The one is JR Kyushu. Actually, we have announced this like actually today. So JR Kyushu has already launched the NFT marketplace by using us network. They're allowing their funds to mint their NFT, which is which idea comes from the train itself. Then they are preparing more collaboration with other railway companies and also allowing users to use the NFT for the collaboration. So actually, you can check it out. This is actually started really today. And actually, like yesterday, I also announced that the collaboration with the banks. So, like in the 7-Eleven, you may know 7-Eleven, but Japanese 7-Eleven is totally different from that in the US. So you can find like literally a lot of 7-Elevens, which is quite convenient. So we call it convenience store. So there's like ATM. Then in the ATM, when they donate the money, they can get NFT by the receipt. So we enabling the connection between the real world and Web3 world from, or I would say in the convenience store. Then this is the final use cases that I can explain. That this is, you know, the cool art here. This is called It in the South Pole, which is the famous manga anime. Then actually this was like this was happened like more than 1 year ago. They created like original manga that is only specialized for the NFT, and then also the bidder get some new token, and also the person who purchased the NFT are shown in the actual manga that they create, the artists create. So the buyer can feel that they are really into the words of the anime, or sorry, the manga. So we also enabling that interaction between the word in the manga and the NFT and the real world. Okay, so this is also like some example of the just collaboration. So not only the enterprises, but also those cities are interested, because you know the national government is going for the Web3. So why not for the cities like Fukuoka cities, Shibuya cities? They are doing a lot of like hackathons, and as well as the using their IPs. So each city has their own uniqueness, right? Maybe for food, building, sightseeing places, you know, they would like to use it for the fun engagement. Then you can see, you know, on the left, there's a bunch of logos here. It is more than 320, I guess. Then this is the advertisement which I use for the newspaper, Nikkei newspaper, which is the biggest the economy paper. Then, yeah, actually here it says Japan as #1 again, but you know what I mean from my explanation about, you know, Web 2 or back in like this like 30 years stuff. So like we are working with about like 400 Japanese companies, and then we have the organization called also Japan Lab. Then we work a lot of like banks, like IT companies, big companies, so that we can be an entry point or gateway between these enterprises and Web3. So like recently we are, because you know the culture of those traditional companies and Web3 is totally different, so we set it up a new company called StarTail, which is like also the core development company behind us network. Then they're supporting onboarding those companies into Web3. So this is the company that we created again, created like new. Then like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we announced that, you know, we got fundraise from Sony Network Communications. So we have like direct relationship with them, so that we onboard all the asset of the Sony group into Web3. Yeah, so that is for the, you know, what's going on in Japan, and then what kind of use cases or what kind of collaboration you can see in Japan. So basically, Aster is the one who is trying to bring enterprises in Web3. So, you know, but to do that as a protocol, we need to do a lot of improvements. So we are doing, you know, we are upgrading staking, tokenomics, improving the governance. We are providing more SDK, stuff like that. So actually today we will have a crowdcast about our vision, about our governance, about our roadmap. So it will be great if you know more about not only the Japan ecosystem use cases, but also really core part or tech part or governance part. It's totally different because the audience is totally different. But I guess you guys may start have interested in, you know, how we work as a protocol, not only for the business area. So
Yeah, perfect.
that's it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Okay.
So I don't
That's
know if
it,
you
thank
have a few questions very quickly. Thank you, Sean. Actually, I presented the Toyota case in a live news channel in Belgium. So
Thank
that's
you.
amazing project, by the way.
Thank you.
Great. So now to finish this morning session, yeah, you can take the mic as well. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sean. So to finish this morning session, we will welcome Shaban Shemi from Everdreamsoft. That's right? Shaban Shemi? Shami, sorry.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you will speak about Web3 gaming, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. So I leave you the pointer and the... Oh, so you already have
I have
microphone,
the
so perfect. I leave you the stage.
Perfect. So, as I was introduced nicely, I'm Shaban Shame, founder of Everdreamsoft. And today, I don't want to go too technical, but I want to do a bit of storytelling, giving you the story of the genesis of Web3 gaming. I think the pointer is not moving.
You can try in this direction. Ah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's slipping.
Okay, so Everdreamsoft, we started as a game company in 2010. And I want to tell you the tale through the eye of one of our player called Mike. So Mike played Munga. He was a fan, a game that we launched in 2010 on mobile, a trading card game. Like many others, at that time there was not many trading card games on mobile, and Munga was definitely one of the early of them. And as we moved and progressed, Mike could exchange cards with other players inside the game, but there was a lot of offers of people who wanted to exchange for real money under the table, and going through in-game transaction, but actually exchanging real money under the table. That was problematic because so many times Mike was scammed. Maybe not him, but some friends of the community. There was a lot of different fraud. The team was overwhelmed with support requests. Oh, my account was hacked. Can you reverse this transaction? Actually, they wanted us to reverse transaction, but money already went under the table. So that was a big problem. But Mike really enjoyed playing, enjoyed exchanging cards. And some of the digital cards were exchanging for $100 to $200, which was a big number for a mobile game at that time. At some point, we told Mike and the community, instead of banning accounts for real money trading, we are going to use blockchain technology to store your game asset. I was crazy. Mike was blocked. What? 2014, when we announced that, people hardly understood what Bitcoin is. So when you were telling blockchain, it was even more completely crazy. So we told Mike, we're using Bitcoin technology to secure your asset. This way, you can have true ownership of digital asset, of digital card. 2014, Ethereum was not launched, mainnet was not there, so it was a layer on top of Bitcoin. So Mike was, okay, what is this new thing that I need to do now? That's super complicated. Okay, I need to do a wallet, okay. At that time, acquiring Bitcoin was super complicated. You had to go through different difficulties. But he was, as he was a core member, he really made the effort. He created his own wallet and started to get card hardly, but he started to get card. Most of the community, the regular player, did not understand the value proposition of having true ownership, of storing the asset not on a database, but on a wallet. So then they are free to trade, just like when you go to a physical store. For me, at the time, the storytelling had a lot of sense, but for most of the people, not. So we presented to Mike a new game, a new trading card game, and this time we said, okay, do you know that potentially assets may survive longer than the product itself? So we told Mike, we are going to put the narrative of the crypto allegorically inside the game itself. So Satoshi card was created. Dogecoin card was created in 2015. It was very niche. Nobody knew about Dogecoin, but it was a fun community at that time. A little bit less toxic than it is right now. Ethereum character, when Ethereum went live, there was a Spells of Genesis card. And the guys like Mike could discover what is this universe by getting the newest card and the new collectibles. Still, blockchain, what is this all craziness? A lot of people said Bitcoin is used for to buying drug online, but actually you could use them for a game as well. So the card were on Counterparty, which is a token layer on top of Bitcoin, allowing to do card. And most of the wallets, most of everything, all infrastructure, was designed to create currencies, like little currencies, sub-currencies on top of Bitcoin. But Spells of Genesis said, okay, instead of creating currency, we're going to put a game asset. And that was completely new and unheard. And we can say it was the beginning of crypto collectible and the movement. There were cards representing events, but also interesting happenings in the community. For example, the FD card, this illustration, is the actually first card of Spells of Genesis. It could be considered at first kind of NFT collectible of a collection released in 2015, and we distributed it to people who do folding. So folding coin was a currency distributed to people who put their computing power to the folding coin project. And folding coin project is to finding cure for cancer calculating molecules, and a program from Stanford University, and they added a layer when you use your hash power to the computing, you also receive folding currency. And then we said, okay, we're going to give this to people who participate to that project. And that was the first card. Different things that Mike discovered. What is a Genesis block? We kind of put the Genesis block in the universe of the game, as well as events like the separation between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. There was a separation between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and many more. So Mike couldn't really believe the story that these cards will be in museum in 50 years. We want them to survive after the game, because when people will look back and say how this cryptocurrency started, this will allow to illustrate how all this started. Different events, different cards, collectibles. So they have an existence within the game, but also outside the game as a collectible. Then, you know the story. Some other collection started the same way. First, there was Rare Pepe on Counterparty, which got a lot of traction for user-generated, I would say community-created meme. Then came the Ethereum and CryptoPunk, etc. So Mike was there, and he played for the game for a while, and at some point he moved out to some other game, like every player. And in 2021, suddenly he received message from people online. They actually tracked the wallets, and they find out who was there through airdrops and different thing. And he completely forgot about it. And the guy said, I'm buying your wallet for $2,000. And he came and said, yeah, but why? Why so much money? And his wallet containing $100,000 value of cards, because of the NFT boom. People rediscovered the punk, and they rediscovered Counterparty, and the card became super valuable. As a collection, Satoshi cards, especially when 6 figures, FD cards is still selling for 6 figure. So the value that Mike was told, that you are not only getting cards for the game, but you're getting also for the posterity. When you are engaging with this, and actually all the product should be like that, when you finish playing your game, you should have a trail. You should still keep something. It is true for physical objects. For example, physical trading card game, if you used to play some when you were young, you might still have them somewhere in your drawer. Maybe you don't use them, but you have them as a token, something to remember. You have an emotional attachment to that. So Spells of Genesis continued and still continues. High quality mobile game, I would say, compared to many of Web3 nation game with super great ratings. So it's a mix between strategy and arcade game. We wanted a game that is simple to play, but still have strategy as you progress through the game. The experience, the world, we extending it to different metaverses. For example, the Sandbox or CryptoVoxel. We represent the same character in different setup. Here it's our iconic Satoshi represented on different experience. The challenge, I think it's a huge topic, is interoperability. So when you have an asset like the Satoshi card, the initial Satoshi card that you see on screen, how do you get this other in 3D model that will work in Voxel? But also on Sandbox, it's a different technology. Even though you modelize in 3D, you cannot just take this model and put it in another metaverse or another experience. This requires work. Somebody needs to do the work. So we dream of a universal file system where you could use in different experience. The reality is, even though it is possible, there are still challenges because the number of pixels change from one experience to another. You need to adapt the style as well to the universe. So you cannot have a one-size-fits-all. The key, in my opinion, for interoperability is giving the power to the community to work and modify and use the property to enhance it, intellectual property to enhance it. Either the company, like we did, does all metaverses, all experience, or you rely on user contributions. So for this, I identify several problems that needs to be addressed, and that's the challenge that are coming. First of all, we call timeless orbs. So where you store the data. So when you create an NFT, what do you own really? And the underlying assets could be an image, for example, a music. Where do you store it? Because if you store it on a centralized server, it might disappear. If somebody stops paying the server, it disappears. We can use IPFS, but IPFS has also its flaw. The problem with IPFS is that somebody needs to still be incentivized to keep the file. If nobody is incentivized, the asset might disappear. So if you want to buy something that has value long term, need to find solution to keep the data the longest as possible. There's multiple ways to address this problematic. I think that's a big challenge. I reviewed some collection and put a rating on immutability, longevity of assets. I won't detail here, but I think that's really today challenge to have a good sanity of keeping data long term. Another very important point is clarify what you are allowed to do with the asset or not. Very few people does it. Do I have a license to use? A license to use in one game, in many games? May I burn the token and move it to another chain? Does it keep its property as ownership of the asset itself? There is a lot of things to clarify, and also to protect the brand, to protect the character. So if I want to sell a Satoshi card to the community and say, hey, you can use it on any metaverse experience, what are the limitations? I need to clarify that. I need to say, okay, this is a genuine derivative, or this is not a genuine derivative. So one thing we do, the first thing we do is we just started a curated collection of timeless orbs, like high quality NFT, new cards that we put new cards from Spells of Genesis, same, following the story of the blockchain today, that you receive every month, but as well as other interesting collection or collectible within Chain Chronicle. And you may see my t-shirts, like the big thing that we are building today is protecting people from scam, fraud, and theft, because now there is so much energy put into trying to scam people, attacking people. If you could take this energy and put them into scam busting or finding wrong ways, rewarding people to do it, you would create a world where it's more profitable to be honest. And that's what we are building with Wakweli. It's a chain that we apply for a parachain on Polkadot that has a consensus system that help fight scam and fraud. And why do we do that? Because a lot of our users were tried to be scammed. When the Satoshi card came out and got valuable, a lot of fake ones came. So they are stealing the property of the character. They try to steal the money of the buyer. So we need together to find a solution to fight against scam. I won't go too much into detail of Wakwali. It's super exciting. I really invite you to join the talk we have on Polkadot stage tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about this part. So, invite you to follow me on the different social. Here is my contact detail, and I'm happily taking questions if there are any, and if we have still enough time.
Yeah, you have still 5 minutes if you want to take any questions. Any questions in the public? No, I don't think so. But maybe after.
Yeah.
The story of Mike remind me the Vitalik Buterin story, right?
Yeah.
When he lost his character at WoW.
Sorry?
When he lost his character at World of Warcraft.
Ah, yeah. That's a lot of similar story like that.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, frustrated teenagers can create incredible things. So we are reaching the end of this morning session. Now it's time for lunch. I'm starving, I don't know you, but it's time to feed the beast. So you can just join the Pillar room for the lunch, and so we will be back at 2:20 p.m. So thank you for listening to us.